operant conditioning, and this is pretty critical for all the stuff that we want to teach dogs with. These quadrants, if you don't know your quadrants, this is kind of like a quickie teaching of them. The ones are color-coded because they have a relationship with one another. So positive reinforcement and negative punishment, they kind of interact with one another, as do positive punishment and negative reinforcement. So in learning theory, positive and negative does not mean good or bad. It means application or withdrawal. Just as reinforcement and punishment does not mean good or bad. Reinforcement means it will increase the likelihood of the behavior happening again. Punishment will decrease the likelihood of the behavior happening again. When you're teaching a dog an operant conditioning, as opposed to classical conditioning, what the dog is doing in the moment is incredibly significant, because you're trying to strengthen the behaviors that you want and get the behaviors that you don't want off the table. Okay, so everybody's the most familiar with positive reinforcement.
Okay, it's January 9th, and Arlo is one of our rock stars.
Yes.
And Kev is working him. We just switched to working him for the ball for place, because I was telling him, because his ball drive is so strong that Kevin could probably get crazy distance on the place with this.
Yes.
Nice. Good job.
So he's giving Arlo zero information. Arlo wants that ball, and he's just waiting for him to get 4 feet on that place board and then marking and rewarding. So he is adding, he's applying, he's giving something that Arlo wants to increase the likelihood of him getting on that place board again. And he gives him no other information beside that. Now, just to let you know, those of you that are very good at positive reinforcement, we talk about being an expert trainer. This was kind of a baby session for him, like a new session. And Arlo is trying and offering all these other things, which means he has a stimulus control issue. He's offering other behaviors. He's not focused, and he doesn't have the clarity yet that, oh, it's this. He's experimenting with all these different things. So to get really clean, precise, well-performed behaviors with distraction and all that kind of stuff really does take an expert to do this. So Arlo and Kevin are both learning. Okay, let me go back. And then negative punishment means we're going to take something away, right? We're going to withdraw something because we want something to happen less, okay? Now, this is a common example that you deal with in shelters all the time. This is a barking dog. He's already learned to automatically go to his place when we approach for his kennel routine. You'll see more of that. But we don't want him yelling at us in the process. So we're trying to we want to decrease his barking.
All right,
This only applies, negative punishment, as far as the person entering the kennel. If this dog was yelling and barking at Allie in this video because he was threatened by her and it was defensive barking, then this technique will not apply. It only applies because he wants her to come into the kennel and take him out. If he did not want her to come into the kennel and take him out, then wrong approach.
Is Thanos' kennel routine. I is going to negatively punish him for barking by marking him and walking away. She's going to reapproach when he's quiet. And her presence should be the cue to send him to place.
He's working it out.
Nice, beautiful. And she's gonna wait for him to be quiet, just like that. That was great.
So he was negatively punished for barking and then positively reinforced by her entering and continuing on with him for being quiet while he went to his place, right? So we're getting him to even a more advanced level. So let's talk about positive punishment. Also, people are pretty familiar with that. That means you're just going to apply a correction of some sort. You're going to apply some sort of aversive that the dog wants to avoid. So bottom line with this is, do you want more or less of the behavior? And most of you that have seen our play group, either seminar or webinar, you've seen this. Then we do want more or less of this behavior. Obviously, we want less of this. Probably this reason this little dog ended up in the shelter. So Michelle's just going to come and rattle a can at him and see if that's annoying enough for him to not to continue.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I told her how to work it.
So she applied something that was a nuisance enough to the dog that he was like, I don't like that. And he stopped climbing at that point. Okay. So negative reinforcement is one of our favorite quadrants, and one that a lot of people, if people are trying to adhere to positive reinforcement only, they're trying to avoid these yellow quadrants and they just want to train with the gray quadrants, right? So we love negative reinforcement. We love both negative and positive reinforcement because we'll use all of that to get more of the behavior that we want. We're going to talk about this in more detail. So negative reinforcement means you're going to withdraw something because you want something to happen more. So something nuisancey enough, aversive enough, has to be applied for the dog to want to turn that off, right? So here's just a really gentle, quick example.
So reminding him to sit. You're reminding him that that's the job he's going to do while things happen around him. Yes, good boy, eyebrows. Nice.
The other way, he sits.
Does he? All right, let's see it.
Sit.
So just go gently, have that leash lined up ready to just give him that light touch of pressure to help him. If you can get him before he, yay, good boy. Yes, good boy. The better your timing in going to pressure, the gentler you can be with your pressure, right?
Yeah.
Because if you catch them before they get into the full stand, then they can go back into their sit rather.
So technically, when eyebrows broke and his butt came up and MJ very lightly just touched him with that leash, lifted his hand and very lightly, I'm going to play it again for you. That qualifies technically as applying. He applied something.
So reminding him to sit, you're reminding him that that's the job he's going to.
So right here, when his butt comes up, he's going to try to go the other way. And he just lifts his hand and applies a tiny bit of leash pressure. That is applying an aversive. So that right there is positive punishment. And when his butt goes down, that's the release of that pressure. That's negative reinforcement, right? So positive punishment, I want less of the standing and more of the sitting. So apply the pressure when the butt comes up, release the pressure when the butt goes down, right? This is a very, very critical skill for you to learn in shelter training programs, because many of your dogs are not going to be responsive to positive reinforcement because they're too stressed, too aroused, too fearful, and nothing you have to offer them is meaningful to them yet, but you can proceed and teach them if you become very good and finesseful with your pressure and release.